You're watching Left, Right and Centre this Tuesday night. I'm Nidhi Razdan. On the show this evening, the Supreme Court stinging rebuke for BCCI Chief N Srinivasan. The top court says it's nauseating to see him stick to his chair and that he needs to step down for a fair probe into the IPL fixing scandal. So far, Mr. Srinivasan has been defiant, but is his position now completely untenable? Does he need to resign right away? And as the AAP takes credit for the Election Commission's move to stop the hike in gas prices from April, was the Election Commission right to do so at all in a decision that was notified in January? That's the big political debate coming up a little later. But first tonight, BCCI Chief N Srinivasan is under tremendous pressure to quit tonight after scathing criticism by the Supreme Court today. The court said it was nauseating to see Mr. Srinivasan stick to his chair and that he needs to step aside for a fair probe into the IPL scandal. The court also said there are what it called very, very serious allegations in a sealed report that was submitted by a panel appointed by them to investigate the scandal. Mr. Srinivasan, in fact, appears isolated, with 3 board vice presidents also saying today that he needs to go. So far, though, he's been completely adamant and won't even comment on what the court has said.
It's nauseating that N Srinivasan continued as BCCI chief. Srinivasan should go if cricket has to be cleaned. If Srinivasan doesn't step down, we will pass an order. The apex court raised valid questions on Tuesday and BCCI chief clearly had no answers.
Will you step down, sir? Will you step down?
Srinivasan may not be speaking, but that doesn't mean that there's not been any reaction from the BCCI.
It's the highest court of the country, so there cannot be any appeal against that. Therefore, if it's a direction from the Supreme Court, it has to be followed.
Eventually, it's now come to this state where the Supreme Court, the highest court of the land, has had to, come down on the board, which to me personally is a very sad thing.
Srinivasan is a very experienced person. He knows the law quite well, and I think he'd take the right decision.
What's really interesting is that the apex court's observation on Tuesday was based to a large extent on the contents of the sealed envelope submitted by Justice Mukul Mudgal committee. This envelope has names of some prominent people who are allegedly involved in betting and match fixing. The contents in the sealed envelope led the top court to take note of the gross irregularities in the BCCI and ask BCCI President N Srinivasan to leave. Not only that, they questioned the council on why should the court believe in BCCI's guarantees of cleaning up the system.
माननीय न्यायालय ने कहा है कि श्रीनिवासन जब तक के स्टेप डाउन नहीं करते हैं, मैं आपकी कोई बात नहीं सुनूंगा. आप क्रिकेट को क्लीन करने की बात करते हो, लेकिन गंदगी तो आपके अंदर भरी हुई है. बीसीसीआई वाले सुप्रीम कोर्ट से भी अपने आप को ऊपर समझ रहे थे. उनका मैटर यहाँ चल रहा है. आईपीएल का उन्होंने तिथि अनाउंस कर दिया.
The next hearing of the case is on Thursday, which literally gives the BCCI one day to decide its future course of action. Many of the top officials who are in Dubai for an Asian Cricket Council meeting are likely to be summoned to Chennai for an emergency meeting on Wednesday. In New Delhi, Rika Roy for NDTV.
So even in the face of the scathing criticism by the Supreme Court, will Mr. N Srinivasan still defy that? Will he continue to stay on as board president? Many believe he may still do that given the way he has behaved until now. Joining us tonight first, we have commentator Charu Sharma with us. Atul Vasan also joins us this evening. Kishore Bhimani from Kolkata and Rahul Mehra also from Delhi with us this evening. Charu Sharma, to you first. Given what the court has said today and the very strong language that it has used, do you think it is possible for Mr. Srinivasan to continue?
Well, I think he has been boxed into a corner, and there's no doubt in my mind that he will consult all his legal luminaries and decide that it's not worth taking on the ire of the court. If they have mentioned, as your report says, that if within 2 days he doesn't resign, they may be forced to ask him to, I think that's too damning a situation, and he knows that regardless of how well he may think he's run the board, you don't want to shake up the cricket establishment against the Supreme Court to such a severe extent. So I think he will, unless there's some masterstroke, legal masterstroke that we don't know. And also that point about not speaking to the media, I suppose we have to give him that. If he doesn't want to speak, he doesn't speak. But resign, he may have to.
Except that, Charu, it shouldn't have come to this. And would you agree that it shouldn't have come to a situation where you had the Supreme Court making the kind of comments this has, it has had to make? At the end of the day, isn't it common sense that there seemed to be a clear conflict of interest here, and in the interests of a fair probe, Mr. Srinivasan should have actually stepped down a long time ago?
Yeah, Nidhi, you mentioned one man and one conflict, as it were. But if I were to take this further, I mean, why is the cricket fraternity silent in the majority? I mean, there are many other luminaries in the board, legal or otherwise, or of great standing. Why did they not come in earlier and say that, listen, we don't think this is moving in the right direction. I think one of us or all of us need to step down and take another look at what's going on. There are many other cricketers, others whose voices can be heard across the world if they just speak two words and say, listen, we don't think what's going on is right. To get to the bottom of this, mind you, it's a question of an internal more or less an internal probe by the board going wrong with this said it's a clean chit. I'm just wondering, Nidhi, if Mr. Srinivasan steps down, and I think the Supreme Court has gone on to say he's the root of all evil, I just find that a little mystifying because, I mean, obviously there are many, many more people involved, and I can't see how one man stepping aside can make such a big difference if it's a neutral probe by a government agency. How can one man interfere so much?
But Charu, it's not just, some Johnny who's part of the IPL. It's Srinivasan, who is a pretty powerful man who controls cricket in this country. And many would say that nothing moves without his nod. He's not just some guy.
I think there are many other very powerful men who run cricket in the country, Nidhi. So how many people will you get rid of? Because one will be replaced by another very powerful man. And then what? So I contend that this is an opportunity where the Supreme Court, and now that's gone there, should, bury the knife to the hilt and say that, listen, we want a complete revamp. We want the system change. We want accountability. We want transparency. Everything that leads to clean governance. I think the whole country is asking for clean governance in every direction. Why not in cricket? So let's not stop by asking for the head or the resignation of one man. I think this is a good opportunity to clean up the entire stable.
All right, Rahul Mehra, Charu Sharma is saying it's not. What difference is it going to make if this one person steps aside? My point is, you know how powerful Mr. Srinivasan is. Do you think Charu Sharma's argument holds?
For the first time, after I think a very long time, I've heard somebody involved with cricket from inside talking straight, and kudos to Charu. Charu, for the first time, I'm absolutely in agreement with you. But let me just say this: there are 4 or 5 issues, Nidhi, out here. First of all, obviously there is something damning enough in the report for there to be a prima facie evidence for the court to come down so heavily on Srinivasan. To say that his son-in-law was only an enthusiast was a slap on the face of every honest and well-meaning and also citizens who have a little bit of common sense. He's a man, make no doubt about it. Srinivasan is a man who is like having a skin of a rhinoceros. He's a thick-skinned man. Nothing deters him, nothing embarrasses him. Probably BCCI as a body collectively has failed. The people, all the people like Rajiv Shukla, Arun Jaitley, who considers himself to be a man of probity, God knows why, Sharad Pawar, others like Farooq Abdullah, and I mean, you can just go on and on with the list. Anurag Thakur, CP Joshi, all of these guys have nothing to do with the game of cricket except eating into the vitals of the game and propagating themselves, creating a platform, sucking to the powers that be, and also creating their own fiefdoms. Now, unless and until Supreme Court, if it's really serious about cleaning up cricket, I agree completely with Charu. This can only be the first baby step to remove the father and the king of conflict of interest, N Srinivasan. He's the one who's tampered, and if you can go by some of the accounts of the opposite camp, he's the one who's tampered and actually forged the internal constitution to allow CSK, his own company, Indian Cement, to have a stake in...
Sure. I just want to pick up on that particular point about Mr. Srinivasan and take that to Atul Vasan, which is that obviously, as Rahul Mehra was saying as well, Atul, if the Supreme Court believes that there cannot... The Supreme Court obviously believes there cannot be a free probe if Mr. Srinivasan continues to be head of the BCCI. So the point is that there's obviously something serious enough, as they have said, very, very serious allegations in that sealed report, which has forced them to make these comments today.
Yes, that's right, and it's quite disturbing, that the highest authority in the country is using words like nauseating, and it's a question of, moral and ethics here. It's not Mr. Srinivasan, by utilizing and using the system to remain at the helm of things, is not doing anything criminal or unlawful. It's the system to be blamed. The states, how they are run and everything. And earlier they thought that they could get away with it and nobody is bothering, and they can use the system. But suddenly, everybody's startled that, it concerns everybody, and their escape route of flanking together and just bulldozing through is not going to work now, because it's clearly that he has to move either back or set aside. and fairly so. I think it's about time that you should be looked to be doing the things which people want for the sake of transparency, and I think, serious allegations with these names coming up and not coming through with the,
But why are you
how
so
they're
reluctant?
operating, what they're doing about
Why are
it.
you
The
so
biggest, I
reluctant
think,
to name Mr. Srinivasan and say that no, that he's the problem here? Because there seems to be a sense that I get that often those who are, cricket
No, but
insiders,
the point is, Charu is right.
You want to blame
Nidhi, I
the
got your
system,
point.
but you're not going after the man who controls that system, Atul.
Of course.
Nidhi, can I?
Yeah.
No, yeah, he symbolizes the system. You know why? Because if anybody comes through, they have been doing this in the past to actually find a way out and just cover it up and just actually we must be able to detach the two things. Cricket on the ground is hale and hearty. We are doing very well. Is the administration which actually took the power for granted and have been doing things for so many years.
Okay,
but
Rahul
now they realize, and I'm
disagrees
just
with you.
one man removing is not going to solve the problem. Charu is right.
Nidhi,
Yes, Rahul, and then I'll come to Kishore Bhimani. Yeah.
Nidhi, Mr. Vasan has been, for the longest time being defending the indefensible in the form of N Srinivasan. So, but he, one can agree to disagree with him. It's an independent country, it's a democracy, and one can say whatever he wants to say.
If you heard me, I'm not defending.
We are independent to say that. But I want to make a larger point. The larger issue is, why are Jaitley, Shuklas, Pawars and others absolutely complicit? And why is it that not a single man has ever even threatened to move a no confidence motion under the constitution of BCCI? Why is it that these people are absolutely conspiring and there is a conflict of interest and conspiracy of silence to maintain the status quo by these individuals? Number two, when you talk about these kind of people, how can you deal with such a situation? You can only deal with it when there is a free, fair, independent and effective investigation, and which is only possible if it is court monitored. Now, if Supreme Court, as it has often in the past since the 80s, allowed BCCI to have the last laugh and allowed the exit route to BCCI, I hope this time the Honorable Supreme Court shall not do so. And these 48 hours will be the defining 48 hours for starting the cleaning process within BCCI. And one more thing, Nidhi, these players, the legends that we make out of them, each one of them is a mouthpiece of BCCI because there is huge amount of millions of dollars coming into their coffers in the form of these, special kind of promos and programs and being as, commentators on various channels. The topmost icons and other cricketers have been completely reduced to being paid employees of BCCI. They have neither the spine, nor the gutso, nor the will to clean Indian cricket. All they are looking is self-serving and wanting to just laugh to the banks. I don't blame BCCI administrators alone. If players get together, nobody, be it Pawar or be it Arun Jaitley or Shukla, nobody can run this kind of rot in Indian cricket.
Kishore Bhimani,
we all
the problem
know.
here is that it's come to this situation.
You
Do you believe, Kishore, one second, Atul, one second. Kishore Bhimani, do you believe that even now N Srinivasan will be stubborn and will not step aside until he's absolutely forced to? Or do you think that, now that there are 3 vice presidents who have spoken out today, he's in a corner and may just have to go?
Nidhi, the 3 vice presidents speaking out is not the important factor. The important factor is Srinivasan's track record. The fact is, last time he stuck to his chair, come what may, none of the politicians who were involved with cricket never spoke up. They closed ranks around him because this is the way the BCCI works. You work that you don't rock the boat, nobody else rocks the boat. And I was very surprised to see in eminent cricketers, nobody opened their mouth. What happens is they're talking about a free and frank probe undertaken by the BCCI itself is not tenable because Srinivasan's track record was such that when he did set up an inquiry, commission of inquiry, it very hastily cleared Gurunath Mayappan, cleared him, cleared everyone. Obviously, the court had to step in. What has happened today is that the court has got fed up. Whatever it has got in its secret envelope or whatever, the fact remains, it has now decided that Srinivasan has to go. He has to go while this is being done and no more influencing. And the fact remains that anybody who says look at this, look at that, look at all the side things. I believe Srinivasan is the main issue at the moment. He has to go because he's the leader. He has been doing things wrong. Gurunath Mayappan is his son-in-law, that he has helped us, CSK, the Chennai Super Kings the franchise. He is the president of the board. He is the father-in-law of Gurunath Mayappan. He is deep in it. And today, a man so deep has to go out first.